Wonderful. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. We're gonna give it maybe like 2 to 3 minutes for some more people to roll in, and then we can get started. Hello again for everybody that just joined. In case you missed it, we're gonna be giving it a few minutes just for some more people to roll in, and then we can start. But thanks for your patience. We can give it another 2 minutes, and then we can get started. I think the amount of people that have joined have started to plateau a bit, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Good afternoon or evening, everyone, depending on your time zone. I know that I'm in New York, so it's 8 o'clock for me right now, so it's almost good night. But I want to welcome you to today's workshop on thriving throughout the school year in regards to burnout. For you guys who don't know me, my name is Brianna, and I'm the Outreach Programs Assistant here at Mind Out Loud. Just to get started, I'm really excited to introduce our student directors who have been working effortlessly to put together today's session. With students themselves, I'm sure that they definitely understand the pressures and demands that come with balancing schools, extracurricular activities, personal life, applying to college, especially during a long school year. So I will stop yapping, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to our student directors who will be leading today's conversation. Thank you all for being here and taking time to prioritizing your own mental health. And I'll be sure to put some links in the chat for you guys.
Thank you, Brianna. Thank you all so much for being here. We're so excited to be able to lead our first workshop, our October workshop. So welcome to our October workshop, Burn Bright, Not Out, Thriving Through the School Year, where we're going to be discussing everything stress, burnout, and giving you some advice on how to manage things like that. So just for a quick overview of what we're going to be doing today, first we're going to be introducing ourselves and our program a little bit. Then we're going to be doing an icebreaker activity. Then we're going to be discussing preventing and overcoming burnout, and we're going to wrap up with some Q&A. So first of all, just a little bit about Mind Out Loud and who we are and what we do. And then we're going to begin by introducing ourselves. Hi, my name is Mary. It's really nice to meet you all. I'm a senior at Walnut High School. This is my second year as a student rep, my first year as a director, and I'm head of the Connections Committee.
Hi, my name is Laher. I'm a senior at Canyon Crest Academy. I'm a first-year director and a second-year student rep, and I'm head of the research committee.
Hi, I'm Frankie. I'm a junior at Walnut High School. This is my third year as a student rep and my second year as a director, and I'm the head of the digital design committee.
Hi, my name's Alexa Southall. I'm currently a senior at Eastlake High School. This is my fourth year as a Minot Loud student rep and my third year as a student director, and I oversee the publications committee.
Hi, I'm Jaden. I'm a senior at the Robert Louis Stevenson School in New York City. This is my second year as a Mind Out Loud student rep and a first year as a director, and I am I'm the head of the communications committee.
Hi everyone, I'm Aubrey. I'm a junior at Stargate Charter School in Colorado. I'm a second year Mind Out Loud student rep, a first year director, and I oversee the outreach committee.
So I'm sure many of you already know this, but Mind Out Loud has 4 main pillars. Our goals include improving student mental wellness, promoting suicide prevention resources, increasing mental health awareness and literacy, and connecting students in rural and vulnerable communities.
Next, we're going to talk about Mind Out Loud's impact and the different programs that we offer. So obviously, Mind Out Loud focuses on trying to attack mental health stigma and the very prevalent issues of mental health among youth. And we do that through our free monthly workshops, such as this one. They happen every month on different topics, completely free to anyone of all ages. And we also host our free annual student event, which is our big event at the end of the year, where we bring in guest speakers and partnering organizations to have a really meaningful discussion about youth mental health and the things that are being done to raise awareness about youth mental health. And then finally, we have our student representatives program, which all the directors you see here today are a part of. It is our student-led organization that works to advocate for youth mental health through a bunch of different routes. And if you know students who may be interested in joining, we have our student supporters who are a part of our student representative program, but they can join us throughout any point in the year. And it's a lower commitment than it is to be a student representative. So we're always looking for more student supporters who may be interested in joining Mind Out Loud. And so that's what the QR code is it's a direct link to our student supporter application.
Now let's get into what this month's workshop is about, and that is burnout. So as stated here, burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. Though it's most often caused by problems at work or school, it can also appear in other areas of life, such as parenting, caretaking, romantic relationships, friendships, anything that could be a big commitment in life. So here are 3 defining characteristics of burnout. First one is a sense of ineffectiveness and lack of accomplishment. The second is increased mental distancing or feelings of negativism related to one's job responsibilities. maybe social isolation as well, and then feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. So, burnout is the accumulation of unchecked stress over long periods of time. You can have stress without having burnout. Everyone has a certain amount of stress in their lives, and having a little bit of it can be healthy, but you cannot have burnout without stress. And burnout is kind of like a little bit worse than that, and something that you want to be able to deal with and take care of before it gets too bad.
Okay, now moving on to like some icebreaker activities. Brianna, if you can move over to the Mentimeter. We're trying out like a new interactive feature this month, which is called like a Mentimeter. So make sure to have your phone or like open another tab and have it handy. Either go to menti.com and enter this code, or you can just skip phone and we'll get started with some fun activities. I'll give it maybe like okay. And then the code will always be up at the top. So if you're having some internet issues, make sure to just join using that code. Just to run you guys through some of the features at the very bottom left, there should be like a Q&A feature. So if you have any questions throughout like when we're speaking or anything that comes up, make sure to enter it into the Q&A. And yeah, I think we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so starting off with our first kind of like question, what are the main causes of stress for you? You can enter different words and you can enter multiple responses. This will generate kind of like a word cloud. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys for your participation. School is definitely a big one I see, and then there's a lot of like smaller ones, so maybe like SAT or like family or work. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how like all of our like lives are kind of like the same but also different in this way. Um, we can move on to the next slide. And then as another kind of like icebreaker question, on a scale of 1 to 10, how burnt out are you feeling right now? Okay. And then, yeah, I think after this, we're going to be transitioning over to the Canva again. So thank you guys for your participation. Oh, and then also don't X out of the Mentimeter quite yet because we'll be coming back to it.
Yeah, like Aubrey said, thank you guys for participating in that little activity. We hope you all kind of were able to gauge maybe your burnout level and kind of the different factors that affect that. So, keeping that in mind and sort of going along with that, we're going to play a little intro video for you guys, which kind of offers some insight into how to deal with burnout. And maybe you can carry some of these techniques into your own life.
Sounds good. I'm going to play it. Let me know if you guys can hear the audio.
Hey, Psych2Goers, welcome back, and thanks for taking a breather with us. We know we could all use one. Burnout. It's finally getting recognition as an actual thing. It's not just a buzzword. It's not something made up. It's real and it's more common than you may think, affecting people worldwide regardless of age or gender. Burnout. You might think of a candle's blackened, shriveled, worn out wick. If you feel how that wick looks, you can likely relate to burnout. These here are some ways to hopefully keep that candle wick conditioned, helping to avoid burnout. The best way to deal with it is to not get to that point in the first place. So, number one, figure out what is stressing you. We're going to use the word avoid, and just clarifying, avoiding a stressor is not the same as avoiding responsibilities. A responsibility needs to be done, but you don't have to go about doing it in a stressful manner. See what we mean? The best way to reconfigure this stressful process is whittle down and figure out what it is that's causing the stress. Here's a simple example. It's easy to say, this assignment is my stress. Getting it done is stressing me out. But when you step back, you realize the situation is more, I'm stressed because I feel tight on time, and I'm tight on time because I repeatedly chose other activities until there were only 24 hours left to get this done. So, yes, you may require some time to practice self awareness. As much as we never like to admit it, we sometimes build a whole lot of unnecessary stress for ourselves. So, please don't do this to yourself. Number two, complete the cycle. I know this sounds like we're suggesting you allow yourself to get more stressed, but we're not. Trust me, we're not. Burnout occurs because of prolonged, unending stress. It's essentially constantly treading water in the worst spot and never swimming to shore for rest. This is what we mean by complete the cycle. The book Burnout by PhD and DMA Nagoski twins describes the cycle generally as enter the stressor, like tight turnaround times. Then cortisol and adrenaline production are triggered from the stressor. This activates the survival response of fight, flight, or freeze. Impulsive reactive behavior happens to stop the feeling of, which can be binging, eating, or streaming. We're not judging. And then completion is taking the step of meditative breathing, connecting with others, or other forms of emotional release. Burnout happens when you get stuck at the binging step. That impulsive action provides temporary, superficial relief. Just enough to fool many of us into thinking, oh, we're all good now. Truthfully, the stress is still there under now, allowing it to continue frying and smoldering within. Number three, sleep. If you had nap time in kindergarten, don't you wish that was still a normal part of your day? Sleep. Sleep is wonderful. Sleep is also important. A solid, healthy stretch of nighttime sleep is essential to overcoming or avoiding burnout. Humans are generally not nocturnal by nature. We know this, yet we seem to be all too willing to sacrifice sleep as the first bartering chip when dealing with stress. We tend to think of sleep as a reservoir easily refilled with catching up on the weekend or sleeping in on vacation. Unfortunately, sleep just does not work that way. You can't retcon the past sleep you lost by sleeping more in the future. So get a good sleep in the now. What is good sleep anyway? It's not that time you zoned out while reading, then woke up with a start when your forehead hit the desk. It is completing a full sleep cycle, including REM sleep. The result is you wake feeling refreshed and renewed. If you wake up still groggy or wanting to throw down in anger, you did not have a good night's sleep. To help you reach this fabled good sleep, employ sleep hygiene and prep. Hygiene is basically a condition conducive to maintaining health. So sleep hygiene is good sleep practices, like no screens 30 minutes before bed, and the room being dark, cool, and silent. Prep is what happens before the hygiene, setting yourself up physically and mentally. So, no numbing shortly before bed, and perhaps a short session of meditation to quiet your mind. Your route is yours. These are just components. Find ones that groove with you. And number 4, release the oxytocin. Perform activities that help produce oxytocin. Yes, oxytocin, the love drug. Well, hormones, really. It's been found that various activities such as giving to others, dancing, working out, or cuddling with your pet all trigger oxytocin production. Know why we suggest this? Basically, because the activities not only make you happy, but many of the activities can help others be happy too. Oxytocin is one of the big 3 happy hormones, after all. It's been found too that this hormone can decrease stress and anxiety. So it gives happy and deducts stress and anxiety. Win-win. And number 5, know that you're worth it. Those old shampoo commercials had a point. You are worth it. Yep, our last tip for today is to practice self-love. Self-love can help you extend compassion towards yourself, allowing you to perform self-care free of guilt or adding more stress. Never feel that tending to your own health is a waste of time or that you could be doing something more important. You are the most important thing to you. Your existence depends on it. Burnout can happen to anyone. It does not matter if you're in school or at a job or trying to get your own business going or a mom or a dad. Burnout is a creeper that can pounce when you least expect it, happening to the seemingly healthiest of us. We mean you're not alone or defective or inept. Burnout essentially means that your own personal care has been sacrificed in pursuit of outward rewards, whether that pressure has been put on you by yourself or by a boss. Take a moment to realize that nothing is worth your health and that you deserve to be happy, no matter how much the bottom line is going to affect quarterly profits. You got this, and we're with you on that. Did you see or hear something that could help you or someone you know? Comment below and give us a like. Take a break and reach out to others for help. And we hope you found something helpful here. Maybe we'll take a breather together again next time. Thanks for watching.
So, kind of going along with some of the things that the video suggested, this is a little website that we like to use. Basically, what you do is you type a little thought, maybe something that's been stressing you, a situation that's making you feel unhappy. And basically, what you do is you type it into the website and it basically like sends it into a star. So, we'll drop the link in the chat and we'll take a few minutes to do this, just so we can feel a little bit calmer and like better about whatever is going on in our lives.
Aubrey, maybe another minute? Or sorry, Frankie, my bad.
Yeah, we can do like one more minute in case some people are still doing it. We can move on at 29.
Perfect. And then I think we're ready to move on to the next slide. Cool. Okay, so on that note, as you guys can see, based off the icebreaker activity we did, the Mentimeter, I think our average stress level on the number line was like a 7.3, 7.5. And we had about like 40 responses in what stresses you out, which is like so ironic because we only have 20 people in the Zoom meeting. So on that note, it's just, I feel like it's really important to include a statistic to make everyone aware of how prevalent stress and burnout is, especially in our generation. So according to the American Psychological Association's 2023 Stress in America survey, on a scale from 1 to 10, American teens from ages of 13 to 18 rate their average, just normal everyday stress level a 6 compared to adults and other generations, people over 60, that rate their average stress level about a 3 to a 3.4. So I just thought it was really important to include, and just so everyone's aware of it's okay to take a break sometimes, and burnout is really, really prevalent in our generation.
So now that we've seen a couple of resources and some of the videos on tackling burnout, this is just a short list of things that me and the other directors have found helpful for us. So the first thing that really helps in avoiding burnout and managing your stress is having a really good time management. So this is prioritizing tasks so you're not looking at a huge to-do list and just getting the most important things done first. So even if you do feel tired and stressed later on and you decide, hey, I can't do any more than this, you're not missing out on something super important. It's also really helpful for me personally to just use a planner and break the work into big chunks. It just makes it a lot easier to digest. It's also really important to care for yourself and find time for yourself during the day, even when things get super stressful. So this is, as the video mentioned earlier, getting a full night's sleep, getting proper nutrition, making sure you're active and exercising regularly, and practicing mindfulness, so setting some time in the day aside for yourself. It also really helps to set some boundaries and just knowing when to say no and what you can reasonably do in the time that you have, and scheduling downtime. So I might have mentioned this before, but I find it really helpful to just put my phone away, put all my devices away, and just give myself maybe 10-15 minutes at the end of the day to just unwind and de-stress in a way. So these are three of the main things that we find helpful. And with that, we have another short video on stress management.
Test. Traffic. Twitter. Oh, it's also overwhelming and stressful. But who has time to relieve stress when it's constantly building and building? Well, we hope you do. Because studies have shown that too much stress leads to headaches, higher blood pressure, an upset stomach, memory loss, disrupted sleep, and increased risk for heart attacks. Stress does a number on your mind and body, draining your immune system and messing with your ability to concentrate. Having tense, sore muscles, shallow breath, increased heart rate, these are all signs that you might be too stressed out. Hey, we all know that you can't take fewer classes. You can't quit the track team or resign from student government. We get it. But here are a few tips that will help you feel calmer inside when your outside life gets too hectic. 1. Stay in and recuperate. When stressed, you might feel the need to tackle everything on your to-do list all at once. But that sets you up for burnout and failure. Instead, find a simple routine task to complete at home, like doing the dishes or vacuuming. Studies show that completing a repetitive task allows your brain to pare down and focus. The perfect cure for a worried, scattered mind. After you finish cleaning your house, clean yourself. Yes, we wrote that. Clean yourself, because a warm bath or hot shower will boost your mood. Studies have shown that the sensation of warm water triggers responses in the body and brain similar to those triggered by emotional warmth. So, think of your next shower like a soothing liquid hug. I love you guys. If you find stress keeping you up all night, try progressive muscle relaxation just before bed. That is a fancy way to describe clenching up every muscle in your body for a few seconds, and then letting go. Lie on your back and start with your forehead, continuing through your tummy, down through your thighs, and finally your little toes. Repeat as needed until every muscle is completely relaxed. Then, sleep like a baby. 2. Get out for good vibes. Downward doggy paddle your way through stress. The spiritual mantras used in yoga and meditation help focus the mind and stave off feelings of anxiety. Yoga not for you? That's okay. Go outside for a good dose of natural light and a little jog. Exercise lessens anxiety and helps maintain feelings of calm, even in the face of distressing events. Hey, leave the headphones behind. All the distracting chatter from those texts and emails and tweets can wait. And hey, instead of texting, emailing, or tweeting your best friend, why don't you guys just meet up and get in a good laugh? Because laughter injects a surge of endorphins into the body, which creates feelings of happiness and euphoria, which is why you like them so much. 3. Here's the best one. Treat yourself to something yummy. Chocolate. All right, look, we're not condoning emotional eating because that's a whole other thing. But there are treats that you can keep handy that will improve your mood, like dark chocolate. Certain chemicals in chocolate help relax the blood vessels, which reduces blood pressure. You can also appeal to your sense of smell for relaxation. The aromas of spearmint and lavender have proven de-stressing effects. So go buy a lavender-scented candle or pick up some spearmint tea. Take a moment to yourself and breathe in the goodness. There you have it, Wellcasters, our quick tips for stress relief. You're gonna have to anticipate that life will be filled with ups and downs. So when the challenges do come, you can take comfort now in knowing that there's a warm shower just on the other side of your bathroom, or a delicious piece of chocolate stashed in your bag. So yummy. Be sure to incorporate stress relief strategies into your daily routine. Make them as essential as breathing, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Well, that's all from me today, Wellcasters. Would you do me a kindness? Subscribe to our channel. Sign up for our newsletter to receive sneak peeks and other awesome stuff. See you later.
All right, so I hope that video was helpful. I know I found it helpful when I was watching it, and this really applies to everyone. I know even little kids who have stress, all the way up to people who are retired, they always have some sort of stress in their lives. So I hope you took something from this. I think we can move to the next slide. So these are some useful apps we put together that I think will kind of just help, not just with burnout, but I think wellness in general. So the first one is an app that I discovered recently called Kinder World. It helps by naming your emotions. You do these little games and you grow your plants and you can add pets. And all these are like free to an extent. And they're really cute. Luna is a great sleep aid. There's stories and soothing sounds. And if you don't have like a noise machine and music, and instead of a blaring alarm in the morning, you're woken up more gradually, which is awesome. The third app is my favorite. It's called I Am Daily Affirmations. Instead of, having to write down everything yourself, you get a surprise affirmation every day on your phone, which I think is really sweet. The fourth one is Fabulous. It's a habit tracker, so more on the logistical side. If you have certain habits that you want to implement, like drinking more water, exercising, getting your homework or work done by a certain time, Fabulous will help you do that. And they're all very fun and interactive. Headspace is a really known one, good for meditation, especially people who can be very fidgety and have trouble staying still like me. You can do it even just for a minute or two a day to start implementing that habit. And then the last one is Lumosity, which is a fun training puzzle and games. Instead of just mindlessly scrolling on your phone, actively doing interesting puzzles and games that actually help your brain. You're still using critical thinking skills. You'll feel a lot better about yourself, and you feel like you're doing something productive, which you are. So those are some apps that I recommend. And feel free to take a screenshot to save for later.
So going along with these apps, we've provided a few resources for those of you who maybe want to learn more about burnout or more other ways to deal with it. So first we have 988, which is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. So if you ever feel that you need to talk about your mental health or you're struggling with your mental health, you can always text or call 988, and this lifeline is available 24/7, 365. And then next we have Mental Health is Health, which is a well-rounded resource that supports you and all the emotions that arise throughout your life. And there are always a lot of different types of mental health resources for different groups of people. So if you want to access a full list of resources that Mind Out Loud recommends, you can visit our website and then go onto Resources for Students to learn more about different organizations and resources that you can access at any time.
Okay, so we're gonna move back to the Mentimeter. We're gonna do a little bit of Q&A, and then we're gonna wrap it all up with some self-reflection and our takeaways so far. So, yes, so on the Mentimeter, you're able to ask questions. So send in any questions you have regarding burnout or anything you want to ask the student directors, and then we'll be here to answer the questions. So I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so the first question that we can answer is, as mental health advocates, how do you balance your own mental health and advocating for others? And I can start, but me personally, having like worked in mental health and stuff, sometimes it can be really exhausting having to like always be like a listening ear to others. Like it's really important especially with mental health advocacy, that you're taking time like for self-care and worrying about your own mental health, because as much as you want to like be there for other people, you really have to take care of yourself so that you can fully be there and supporting them. So I would say for me, it's always just been about like prioritizing self-care and like trying to be as empathetic with myself as I can be, and like recognizing when I am and am not able to like fully support somebody else's emotional capacity. I'll pass it on to anyone who might want to answer that one.
Yeah, I can also answer it. I think it can definitely be tricky, and I know as students, at least I can speak for myself, that I will want to like take up all the extracurriculars, do things for college, do all these things at once to try to make myself look impressive on paper. But when in reality, I'm not really impressing or doing well myself. So I think one of the biggest things that I do is prioritize things that I really care about, and that's Mind Out Loud. And I do dance outside of school, and so those are like my two go-to activities. And then every night, kind of what Laher has mentioned, I take 10 minutes. I put my phone and devices in another room. I disconnect from everything and I sit and I allow myself to breathe. I guess you could call it meditation. I don't really think of it that way. I think I just kind of like to sit with myself and my thoughts, and I allow my thoughts to just pass through my head, and I try not to judge them, which is similar to like naming your emotions, naming your thoughts. And I find that that's just my me time, not socializing with anyone else, and I find it really helpful.
I think for me personally, in a way, advocating for mental health is kind of like my own form of self-care. Now, with that being said, I do understand that like existing in the mental health advocacy space can be a little bit draining sometimes. And I think at this point in time, I'm trying to learn how to take a step back from things like when my personal life and my own mental health is like getting a little bit on the rockier side. But I think this is something that varies. Like, you really just have to see what kind of person you are, like what works for you, and, you know, taking care of yourself and like good mental health habits look different for everyone. And yeah, so I would just say for me personally, like I think self-care and mental health advocacy kind of go hand in hand, but I definitely understand the perspective that, oftentimes having to have a lot of conversations about mental health can be at times like triggering or like tire you out and or burn you out. But I think it's important to note that, each individual is different and everyone cares for themselves in a different way.
I think this is the same question that we just answered, so maybe if we can go to the next one. So this one says, I had the idea that tech and phones are a factor, and that makes so much sense. I totally agree. I think that's something we've all talked about, is putting your phones away. It's a very like common self-care practice that I think is hard to implement, but has a really big impact. Maybe we can see the next question. This person said, it is so hard with the more sleep aspect. I think balancing a job and schoolwork is so draining, but I need to prioritize this. I see that now. So it's really cool that you guys are having these kinds of self-reflections and are able to take these principles away. I think having self-awareness is the best way to really be able to kind of attack burnout and putting those habits into your life. This person asked, how do you end the cycle of sleep deprivation resulting from school stress and studying? Does anybody want to answer this one?
I actually have, because I've dealt with this exact thing myself, where funny story, will show up to school having 1 hour of sleep, and I know I'm not going to get anything productive done that day. So I'm not even sure why I'm at school, but maintaining perfect attendance, right? But I think the most important thing is to talk to your teacher or guidance counselor, someone, because like one of the videos mentioned, the catching up on sleep on the weekends and on vacation just doesn't, it might feel nice then, but it doesn't account for the sleep that you lack during the school week. Like they don't make up for each other. And so really at the end of the day, it's important to try and find some and get some leeway. So, you know, depending on whether it's changing up your schedule or maybe lessening up on the work or getting an extension on something, you know, advocating yourself is huge. And I know it'll also be huge in college. When I hear from my college friends, like it's just something that'll really help yourself in life and in the workplace and definitely in high school. So talk to someone, whether that's a teacher, guidance counselor, principal, counselor, someone who has a little bit more authority, who can kind of help you out with that.
I totally sorry, I totally agree with that, Jaden. And then so sorry, I need to clear my throat. But personally, I found that when I get sleep deprived or when all those like sleepless nights catch up on me, if I take time to reflect, like, and this might not be the case for everyone, but I personally find that the reason that I stayed up late all night studying or doing work was because there were definitely times throughout my day where I could have, for sure, I had the time to study, I had the time to complete my work, but I just found myself procrastinating a lot. Or sometimes this is like my thing, I find a topic really hard to understand. And so, like, I get stressed out about the idea of learning that topic. So then I procrastinate on actually learning it. So, what I found is to just do it, to just do the work when you can, whenever you see that open opportunity, before you can even, and this is, of course, if you're in the right mental headspace, just if you're in the mentality where you're like, okay, like, I know I need to do this, I know I'm able to do this, I just don't really want to, just do it. Just at least start it. Once I work on something for, I think, 5 minutes, I'll find myself more often than not just like finishing it all the way through. And just even finishing one assignment can save you so much sleep. And I found myself lately just going to bed at like a decent hour. Yeah, exactly, Jaden. Starting is like more often than not the hardest part. So as long as you just push yourself to do it, even though it might be hard, then I find that really beneficial. But also, of course, recognize when you're really drained and you really just do need a break.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Mary. And then also, like, adding on, I feel like one thing for me is just like time management is a huge thing. So just like finding ways to be more efficient with how I study. Like I can cut down the time that I'm like doing school and can take more time to like prioritize self-care and really make sure I get to bed on time. And sometimes like I don't know, maybe instead of doing an hour of scrolling, like when I feel tired of studying, I can maybe take like a 15 or 20-minute nap and then feel more refreshed that way and just get back to it and just try and make sure that I can get at least a few decent hours of sleep. So just trying to find ways to squeeze in, like prioritize your schedule and like make those changes. Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is going to be our last question. And this person asked, how do we tell our parents that we have burnout and how do we explain this to them? So I can answer this question as well. I definitely get it. My parents can sometimes be the type where they don't really understand that I'm burnt out. They just kind of see, like, oh, you're not doing as well in school or you're like not working as hard, and they just kind of confuse. So I think definitely sometimes you have to explain it to them, bring it up, and really like convey to them that, like, maybe even, like, the videos that we just watched, like, that's a great way to, like, introduce your parents to burnout because sometimes they really just don't know, like, they aren't terms that your parents may have heard of growing up, and so I think informing them, like, educating them on what is burnout, what do the symptoms look like, and trying to convey that is a little easier for them to kind of understand what it is you're talking about if they've never even heard about it. Does anybody else wanna chime in?
Yeah, I think that's definitely something I relate to as well because my parents are from an immigrant background. And, when they were growing up, they didn't really have a lot of topics or conversations surrounding like mental health in general. And I think, like you said, Alexa, our parents didn't really grow up with these labels or like with different like terms. And I think one really important thing is just to like start off the conversation small. Like it doesn't really have to be like a full, family meeting. I think just like a little, hey, I'm feeling a little bit stressed. Like this is where I'm at right now, like in passing, like in conversation does a lot. I think my parents specifically, like they have struggled with things like anxiety and burnout. They just didn't know that there were names for these things. And I think trying to help my parents become more educated on these topics while also trying to have this open conversation with them and like telling them where I'm at, like where my headspace at is something that's been really fulfilling and really helpful for me. So I think that's where I'd start. I think it's important to start small with these having these conversations with your families, especially if you guys come from like very, very different like backgrounds, like culturally. I mean, not culturally, but like in terms of like societal standing. And so, yeah, I think it's important to just start small and gradually just build up that conversation.
Okay, so Brianna, if we could stay on the Mentimeter, we have a couple more slides just to wrap up. Okay, so this is kind of your biggest takeaway from the workshop, anything that you've learned. We talked a lot about a lot of resources and just what burnout is in general. So we would love to see what you guys found as your biggest. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of different things pop up. I see a lot about the apps. I think the apps are great. I love the little pixel thing. I use it all the time. I'm also seeing a lot about sleep. Sleep is so important. And obviously that burnout is common, something even our parents experience. I love that. Also time management, that's something Lahare had talked about. And I'm seeing that it can also relate to relationships and other issues. So I think these are awesome, amazing takeaways, and I'm glad that you guys learned so much. So on the next slide of the Mentimeter, we're going to have you rank all these statements. This is just a little bit more feedback for us about what you thought about the workshop. So go ahead and fill this out. Okay, so thank you to all of you who responded, and then we're going to end it on one last feedback activity at the very end. And this is just some general feedback. about we want to know how you think we can improve our workshops. Every month we do one, and we're always looking for new ideas on how to improve. So this is just really helpful if you guys can just take a moment and let us know what you thought of this workshop. So I'll give you a moment to do that.
And if you have any other questions for us, you can always email if someone wants to drop the email in the chat, and check out our website, or leave questions in the chat.
Okay, hopefully you're wrapping up your last comments. And if we could just go back to the Canva one more time for the last slide. So this has come to the end of our workshop about burnout. We hope that it was so informative and that you were able to learn a lot. Like we've mentioned before, there's one every month, so we hope to see you back for some of our future topics. If you're interested in connecting with us at all, you can find a ton of resources, information, and more about our student rep program at our website, mindoutloud.org, and also on our social media pages, MLL Students. On Instagram and TikTok, you can find more updates about what we're doing, for example, our future workshop that you can register for. So thank you for coming. We're so glad that you guys came, and we hope you'd enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you guys so much.